another.
That is not correct. That is not the show we are actually doing today. This has nothing to do with Stephen Miller, although like some of the people in my comment section seem to have turned into him. The actual intro you're looking for is something like...
What is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
Hello, Buffer Timers. This is not Stephen Miller time, in fact. But we are here to talk about an episode that pretty much all of us universally love. And basically every person I can actually guarantee is a human being that's seen this episode likes it to at least some degree, but every other random person on the internet seems to have a different opinion. So let's see if we can find out what's in between. I'm Dustin from Best of Trek. That is Del, and Del is lagging.
Now we can.
Sort of. It lagged. We hear you now.
Okay. I'm Scott. Opinions no one cares about.
I'm Ren from Ren Rants.
And I'm the rest, a.k.a. Windgrace.
So I had put the Latin title, which I voice from on high, I think is what Vox in Excelso translates to. Does anybody else remember what this translates to from Klingon? Because I don't. I know somebody translated it.
I believe that says a
CBS
remember. Studios production.
Yeah,
Something
I think that's
like
right.
that.
Yeah.
I thought it was something else.
Yep, a CBS Studios production.
Oh, that's fun. Because I didn't even notice it when I watched it the first time. Then I had seen it posted. So that, I mean, that's already starting out on a really fun note. So here's just kind of like a weird thing. Why doesn't the Athena have its wings on this space mission?
Maybe it doesn't always need the wings. It had its wings for like part of the mission, right? And then just drops them and zooms off.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the wings are just like, I don't know, for distance travel, maybe? I don't really understand what their function is beyond looking baller as hell.
I'll admit I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it became just the saucery part, but I don't know. I'm sure there's some in-universe thing that somebody has written somewhere that we'll find out about later.
Someone must have the schematics.
Because we need to know.
And while we're on this shot, USS Riker, anyone? Seems like it's too far. I mean, I know we have like the USS Nog and stuff, but it does seem like it's a little far in the future to have Riker make sense. But cool, great, nice callbacks.
I'm good with it.
I don't know. I mean, we're still making references to like Alexander the Great nowadays, right? So if he's like a notable Starfleet figure and they're like celebrating the Federation being Federation-y again, I can imagine them being like, look at our early Starfleet officers that we still honor 1,000 years later.
Mm-hmm. I don't mind it. I like it. It might have made
He's
sense.
on the
It was like
wall.
the Riker D or something, but it's fine.
I mean, the wall makes sense. I love that we still like, it doesn't seem like we've gotten everybody on the wall and we keep getting like new people every episode randomly.
I saw someone they're gonna actually shrink it down, but yeah.
It is funny because it means that any Trek series that premiere between Discovery, past Discovery, and now, we know their officers will not be on the wall.
Oh, sure.
None of them make the cut.
Mm-hmm.
Commander Snarfergle from the show in 7 years, not on the wall.
Yeah.
Or they'll take names we don't recognize that are on the wall and make them new characters.
I think
Okay,
a lot
I
of the
like
names
that.
not on the wall are like producers and whatnot, or other writers and things.
Someday
I mean,
we'll
yeah, I guess
learn
that's
who Turner, was that the name on the plaque when Caleb was giving the tour
yeah.
and he was like, this is Turner. We'll figure
Yeah.
out who that is.
We find out he actually did put pips on his dog.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we haven't come back to that joke. I feel like it needs to be played up more. I mean, that's a good point, Norman. He saved Sector 001. That's kind of important. You can be remembered for that.
We don't know it was Will. It could have been Thomas.
So
Yeah, he did some great stuff after he got out of that Cardassian labor camp.
Mm-hmm. He finally nailed Nightbird.
one of the only pieces of criticism I've seen about this episode that's kind of valid is, why did the Doctor misquote Aaron Satie, and why didn't Genesis, the smartass she is, call him out on that shit?
You know the interesting
genuinely
thing about
feel
that?
like there was some kind of editing mistake and they accidentally deleted the word chains, because
Yeah.
like there's like
Mhm.
like it ends with us all and it has the whole rest of the quote.
Yeah.
So like, and it is while he's like turned around. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if they were like rushing and they accidentally cut it, or if like this was like they were like rushed filming and this was the best take they got, and then they realized too late that it was missing the word. Like something like that had to have happened.
Or a writer didn't do their homework.
I mean, I feel like
Maybe,
I
but I
didn't.
mean,
they had
know
the
what-
whole rest
I missed
quote.
it. It seemed fine to me. I didn't notice that it had.
Well, I was
Missing
kind
words.
of thinking it was weird because I was like, what do you mean? Because the whole rest of the quote is building up, like it's, blah, blah, blah. And then us all irrevocably.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where? That sounds incomplete. But then I thought I was remembering wrong.
Yeah, it did feel a little choppy. I do think it might have been a
Yeah.
problem with editing, because people say that they don't put any love into the canon here, but clearly they've been including a lot of things that aren't just surface level Trek things. So to get one of the biggest speeches from TNG wrong doesn't seem like the writers would actually do that without some other problem.
I mean,
Yeah.
either
Yeah,
way,
I
a
would- I think
multi-million
it's just
dollar
an error.
show, having to edit around it seems like you couldn't go back and retake it or overdub something, cut it a different way.
Well, see, that's what I think
It
is
seems like a
the
lazy-
editors may not have realized what the
Sure.
quote was.
No.
So like they
Yeah,
were
that's
cutting
what
it
I'm thinking
together.
is something like that.
That's fair. Like they made a bad edit, but in the bad edit, they missed something. Got it.
Yeah.
And
that-
like, no, I
rather
would
than
also
the
say
writers,
no
I guess
shade
we'll
on them
see.
either. Because like
He really did.
the turnaround for Star Trek shows has for the most part been like a lot quicker than the turnaround for other shows. Like I know seasons 1 and 2 have been shot simultaneously for Academy. So my guess is
no,
that
they're
people are
just
like
wrapping up
rushing
season
and
2 right now.
overworked. Yeah.
They're still shooting it, but
Okay,
yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah, I
There
mean, it
was
was
no
like back
real
to back,
downtime,
but
though.
yeah.
So they're going to be
But-
done with 2 before we're finished seeing 1.
Yeah. But like the shows of yore, they would like edit them as the season like came out. And
Mhm.
now my understanding is everything's edited like before the first episode premieres. And so I think like it's just crunchier
Right.
time. But I feel like this is the most like egregious and obvious error I've seen in like I don't know, any show in a while. Like that's a big one.
That's a good question, Mr. Captain.
Ooh.
I'm sure he probably doesn't have a rank, or he probably has some awesome honorary rank. That'd be
He's like a
my
fleet
guess.
admiral.
It's like the fleet physician or something.
Although sometimes just being the doctor is all you need.
Which one?
So, if the burn was 120 years ago, why are the Klingons just now becoming a refugee crisis?
Well, it may have been a 120-year long refugee crisis.
yeah, just
Honestly, it may have just gotten worse and worse as their population got more spread out and dwindled. And like it seems like the the alliance with the Federation has broken down at some point, like around or before the burn. So they're kind of just struggling.
Mhm.
But I could find it believable that if they won't accept charity from anyone and they're not really strong enough to conquest anymore, that they actually can't find a new homeworld.
I think it was always a crisis. Just during the burn, we didn't have ships intermingling all that often
Yeah.
because of the rareness of dilithium and travel. So it was probably something that's now more on the forefront when we're actually coming back together.
Now, see, I have put together in my head canon from a whole bunch of different little sources what has probably happened that they haven't told us the whole story about yet. We know that, like, most societies that we know of in the Federation use fusion and like for their planetary power needs, as opposed to like antimatter mix and dilithium, because it's a little bit safer.
Some
Even, like,
planets use
Earth's-
one child.
Yeah, I don't want to talk
Yeah,
about
right?
that. I hate that fucking episode. Anyway, like even Earth's space dock uses fusion and not antimatter, and that like houses cavernous amounts of ships. So point being, most planetary stuff in the Federation didn't have dilithium antimatter reactors on their planet. I think what happened with like Praxis and stuff is that Klingons actually use antimatter reactors on planets, which created much more devastation. So then you had like the survivors on the planets that were still even semi-habitable sheltered in place because they also didn't have ships because of the dilithium to go anywhere. So now it's just becoming a crisis now that it's becoming more, dilithium's more readily available. That's my like long piece of headcanon.
And they were clearly not going to try to reach out during the burn for help if they're not going to reach out for help now.
No.
So like people just probably didn't know,
Yeah.
which now also retroactively explains why we didn't see Klingons once Discovery jumped into the future, which kind of ties that up nicely.
Yeah, that was a big point. I was like, they were here for 3 whole seasons. We never saw a Klingon, like one of the most prevalent races in all of Trek. So one of the like last things that like this sits this episode apart from being a full 10 out of 10 for me is the plot with Jaden's parents resolved too easily.
I mean, I think the bigger issue that only one of his dads is like a character at all. Like we built
Yeah.
up the stuff about his mom, like showing him all this stuff and like forming him as a person. But then we barely get like, I think his mom has one line about like dinner and that's it. And other than that, it's like interactions with his dad who doesn't get him. And then his brother seems to be the only one who gets him instead of his mom. And that's kind of strange. I think if you had built both of, like, if they had built his mother up more as a character and maybe also dad number 2, if you're going to do the triad house thing, like, I'm fine with that. Just make them also be characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would
second
be
dad even have a line?
better executed.
I think he did.
Yeah, I missed this whole plot line until watching it again. Like, I didn't even notice the second dad.
I
only
think
noticed them
for
'cause they
me
said he
anyway,
was
I made
there.
the assumption that second dad is why he has a problem with public speaking. Is maybe there's a line of being trained to be more reserved.
Possible.
Okay.
But I was
Does anybody
also
think-
wondering, like, is this also like, do we know the breakdown? If the Klingons are so bad off, like, are there an excess of males and less females? Is it
That's
something
what I was
that's
just going to ask.
Okay.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, that would make sense.
Or is it maybe
Yeah.
just because there's only 8 houses left, you have to kind of bring together a couple non-main men to form one? I don't know. It
Yeah,
seems
I
like
was
it's a bigger
confused
thing.
by that. I just thought that, like, house was synonymous for, like, family in Klingon. I assumed all Klingons were part of a house. Had this been an established thing that's just, like, the noble Klingons and the other Klingons are just guys? Is that
Oh,
how it's
I
always
felt
been?
more like it was Martok and
Yeah.
Moog, like an intermarried sort of now we become one house.
well, Martok didn't have a house, I think, because
Right, he
was
married
a
into the
lower
house of
born.
Zarella.
He was a lower born just guy, which is why Kern
Okay.
didn't want him to be in the fleet, and that's why
I
he had
guess
to
all our
use
important
not
Klingons have mostly been in
Oh.
houses up to this point. So
Core,
that makes
not
sense.
Core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's they established this thing, but then didn't explain it. So hopefully they come back to it later. Otherwise, it's just kind of a here's the thing we did.
I'm also confused because some Klingons seem to have last names and then other Klingons just don't. Like Obo
Yeah.
Wochok has a last name, Jaden Krog has a last name, but Worf is just Worf, son of Moog. He doesn't have a last name.
To what Who Cares
Back in the
Bear
old one.
says here, this is actually laid out in one of Trek's worst episodes ever, Up the Long Ladder. How in this kind of situation, you need like women to have a bunch of children by a bunch of different men. It's like an unfortunate reality if you want to keep the species going. So I can see this if there was a mismatch to begin with, especially.
Or maybe it's just they're doing the house thing where like one of the houses died out and there's just a lone Klingon left who just kind of needed to join the local tribe or something. It doesn't necessarily mean he was an equal parent to Jaden.
Or we could dance down the line that maybe because his brother, I can't remember his name, but his brother was a product of Warrior Dad, that maybe Jaden is a product of Quiet Dad.
Perhaps.
If Quiet Dad had a, character, maybe.
Yeah, if they got to be characters, maybe we would know.
Well, who knows? We may meet them again.
I hope so.
Seems doubtful given the whole backstory. It's gonna take a generation or more for them to, I think, come back around to any way of galactic thinking.
We'll see. I'm
Unless
sure we'll
they're-
see Wochak
We don't
again
know.
because I think he and Ake are gonna,
Sure, I agree.
start
with that.
hanging out.
Unless they're building
had
up to a
chemistry.
secret galactic ending event. If what Nusbraka is
Exactly,
actually
we're
going
gonna
to
meet.
do something.
So
Sorry, I was laughing at Norman.
playing off the same thing on this same planet. So Krios, a very different planet every time we see it. For those of you that don't realize, we've seen this planet we've seen at least people from this planet 3 other times. The D went there twice to pick up the Metamorph and the Kriosian ambassador to go to the negotiations with Vault. And then Geordi almost killed the Klingon governor, which I guess the Klingons took the planet over at some point, which makes sense why they're here now. But that was where Geordi almost killed them because the Romulans mind controlled him. And the episode that everybody loves to hate from Enterprise, where Trip saves a princess, she's from Krios. Anyway, here's yet another very different look at the planet.
That's quite funny and strange.
Indeed.
Are
Like,
they all
why
just
make it
regular
be
Krios? Or do
Krios?
they have like
Yeah,
Krios
they all
4,
Krios Prime.
Krios Beta?
Yeah, at least
Well, I
according
mean, if
to
you look
Memory
at
Alpha,
Earth and
this
you
is
show
the same
them the
planet.
Mojave Desert, and then you show them like the mountains of Maine, it's going to look like 2 different planets.
Yeah.
Fair.
We are chewing through these questions. We may be doing a roll for episode here. Are the Klingons that we see here basically what Ezri-Dax hypothesized about where the race would ultimately end up? Did anybody remember that? I can't remember what episode of season 7 of DS9, but she goes on about how like she doesn't believe the same thing that Jadzia and Curzon believed. She believes that the Empire in its current form should die, and then it's just cannibalizing itself. Where she's like, Worf, who is the last leader of the High Council that you actually respected? And he can't give an answer. And it seems like that's what has come to fruition here 800 years later. Yeah, that sounds right. I knew it was one of those final ones.
I mean, I'm surprised it took so long, but there was because it seemed like they were eventually going to be moving more and more in step with the Federation. So I'm kind of curious to see where that parted ways. Was it before the burn? It seems like it had to have been before the burn.
I mean, most of it's beta canon, but in Star Trek Online, which is only 2509, the Klingons are already back to the enemy side of frenemy again.
Okay.
And Martok's still the Chancellor, so figure that out.
30 years.
Anyway, wow, yeah. Moving through this. Is Darum's redemption arc complete, or does he still have some Jim Bro douchebag left in him?
Oh yeah.
I mean, he still
Got
wants to
some
punch
of that.
Caleb in the face. So.
It's
Well, don't
pretty
we all?
surface level at this point, I think. But
Is it too much to hope to see Darren/Jaden?
I think that's what they're
Yes.
setting up. I think it's much more strongly hinted at than Jaden x Kyle.
I don't know about that. I saw more of that with Kyle than I did here. This just seems like an intimate ritual.
Really?
That's like asking if when
I
Worf
don't
did the
know.
tea ceremony with Pulaski, if that was like an intimate moment. It just seems
think
like
Yeah, but their faces weren't like inches from each other.
They were really close, and the way Jaden suddenly like almost becomes like aware of how close they are and like pulls away.
Yeah.
To me, that's like classic like queer coding in terms of like an interaction between two dudes. Like you don't pull away like that unless you're feeling like some feelings.
Well, here's another part that. So I think Darum definitely wouldn't be opposed to this, but for
No,
Jaden,
for sure.
this is the whole crux of this episode. Basically, boils down to these are the first even friends this guy has ever had, let alone a
Yeah.
romantic interest. So this is all kind of relatively brand new to him on every level. So whether or not he's even has the wherewithal to deal with this effectively right now is probably not great.
I love Darum. What?
I think also we need someone who's going to be the grit in the machine. I mean, if everyone at Starfleet Academy loves each other and treats each other well, like it'll go back to being Gene's idea of no interpersonal conflict.
Yeah.
3 boobs, no interpersonal conflict.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm also fine with the various
Hooray!
love quadrangles because, like, they're young adults. Like, it makes way more sense that everyone's, like, flirting and crushing on each other and, like, communicating badly than when Spock does it at whatever big age he is supposed to be in Strange New Worlds. Like, I'm fine with it. I think it's cute. I wanted them to kiss pretty bad. I thought it would be very sweet.
That's
and, like, Krog is sweet. Darum needs someone sweet to help him, like, fully evolve into his sweetheart boy, like, final form.
yeah,
Although,
I
honestly, he would be cute with Genesis, too.
I don't see it. I think it was just a very intimate ritual to center Jaden, and it worked, and cool. I mean, if it turns
that
out to
ends
be
up
something,
being-
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Well, if there's
That's how I
one
feel if they do
person
end up
in
just
the
being buddies
academy
where
who
I'm
could
like,
deal with the
honestly, that's
Klingon
fine.
ritual, it would be
That's
Fish
fair.
Boy.
So seriously, like I have real problems coming up with questions to episodes that I really, really like. We're out of questions, so whatever you guys got, or we're going to out of tens mad freaking early.
So
So
what
can I
mean, we
talk
didn't-
about why I watched this episode twice in a row?
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like this is what's been missing for me in a lot of modern Trek is we got to know a lot, not just about Jaden, but we got to learn about Caleb memorizing the entire Starfleet rules in jail. We got a sense like it's not just we went on a mission and did things. It was we get to know and become invested in the characters so that when they find themselves in stressful situations, we have a better sense of how they're going to interact with each other and what roles they're going to play and who's going to do what. It's not like I'm in the medical corps, but like there's a very big difference between Bones and the doctor. And so
Right.
I feel like we're getting to learn who these characters are, and hopefully there will be a no Nortegas situation. But I'm hoping we get, especially if this is going to be more than one season, I would like to go into the second season having a really solid grounding as to who our main gang is and how they interact with each other and how they treat each other. And so even though I'm a little bit wary of the 90210 of it all, I still like getting to know these characters.
Okay. Well, that was a thing that
It's
happened.
been a minute for
I
that.
thought that was just me.
Hi. Let's yeah, it's the first time that's happened. I find it really interesting that it decided to pop up Robbie's comment in place of myself. the app really wanted to highlight what you had to say, Robbie.
I love Darum. Oh man, everyone's hating on Darum. I see it online in the comments too, and like, I think his arc has been really well executed. They did a good job again from episode 1, setting him up as like
Wow.
the privileged jerk with a heart of gold.
See,
You are entitled to your
Boo!
wrong
Boo,
opinion,
who
sir.
cares, Bear?
I wouldn't
Entitled.
say
It's not
I
you
wouldn't
who
say
cares,
any of those
Bear.
are better, but I think the first half to the first 2/3 of Threshold are actually pretty good.
But like
I care,
thought it
don't
was
hate- I don't
nice.
hate
I thought it was
Threshold.
done well, and
enjoy
like
Mask.
I like
Not
that
as
it's
much as-
deepening the relationship with all the cadets, and I like Dell said, I really liked the shorthand because like Captain Ake told us like Caleb's exceptional, right? Now we're seeing in action frequently how exceptional he is because we continue to see his hacking stuff in the background, like with the little droid he programmed to deliver them lunch. That's adorable. And him just like kicking ass at debate with the way he was like memorizing everything and like, you know, always had an argument ready to go. My favorite thing though is as like I am a former college debater myself, and I recognized instantly the kid who is so overzealous about debate itself that he forgets that the various motions actually have an implication often for other students in the room with him. And so he's so focused on winning that he like doesn't think about how some of his arguments come off. And I really like that like throughout the episode, like it's Krog's story, but we still watch Caleb learn a little bit more like cultural humility and how to be a more respectful debater. And it was really good.
That's what happens every time. Usually it's chronotons. This time it was Nion
Yeah.
Storm.
I'll say just one little thing that I really liked when Caleb and Jaden are talking and he offers him pizza, and I was watching, I was like, oh, yep, it's a school. Square pizza.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
I generally liked that Caleb, like, where he has been like the focus of the first couple, and even the last one, there was a pretty good focus on him, even though it was more of an ensemble. The Caleb was just in the background, just schooling people. He's showing us and developing as a character, while also not being anywhere near the focus. Great.
And he
Love
wasn't.
that.
He wasn't a loser. Like I think the Doctor's surprise that he not only knew sort of Starfleet. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, like canon, but that he could hold himself up in a upstanding manner during these debates. It wasn't like, oh, he was the kid who, you know, got into
Gannon.
school fights and didn't give a shit his whole life.
Yeah, until they got like super personal with Darum, he was pretty good about the decorum and stuff. Or not Darum, when he was super personal with Krog. I did think that was kind of bogus how like Krog got like reprimanded as much or almost more so than Caleb, when Caleb was the one who got like really out of line, like really fast in their debate. Like I felt like Krog's like sort of personal illusions weren't really that personal. And then he's like, well, you stabbed your family in the back. And it's like, you don't know anything about his family. Why are you talking? Sit down.
Well, to Norman's question here, if you want to bring that up, I don't think it's even all that. He was shown when he was still a little kid to be pretty exceptionally adept at learning all these little bits of minutia. And he even said in this episode, a lot of the things he learned were specifically to be the con artist, for lack of a better term or whatever, to be that guy who's charismatic and knows all the right things to say to be able to get in and out of situations as easily as possible. So these were all things that were vital to his existing in that line of life.
I also
Street
think
Smart
since our
Sally.
introduction of Caleb is like he's a brick shithouse ready to start some shit, that like we now know that his time in jail wasn't just picking fights and stealing shit. Like he was actually trying to better himself and understand. The way that I thought of it was like Earth culture via the Starfleet handbooks and what have you, is that he decided to use that time to educate himself. I mean, I think we've seen in the media, if not in our own personal lives, the difference between someone who gets their GED and starts going to college while they're in prison and the one who joins the gangs and is roughing people up in the yard. And I think those are two very different stereotypes, whereas I think Caleb comes into this really interesting in between place where obviously he's still built really well and he knows how to, pick a fight or two, but he also not he's not uneducated.
What Robbie said.
Yep.
Gannon, did you have anything you wanted to get in about the episode? Because we are just spitballing at this point, sir.
Okay, I guess sorry for joining late, but I really wanted to join this one and
You're
share
good.
my feelings because this is the first episode of the show that I personally don't really like.
Whoa, interesting.
Yeah. And
What don't you
I
like
see
about
I see the reviews in how you guys feel about it, but for me, this right here is kind of falling a little bit into the feelings that I get from Discovery. Like they're just trying to do a little bit too much. I really don't know how in the span of 4 episodes we can get just a freshman class of cadets at the new Starfleet Academy, not only bringing back Beta Z into the Federation, but like 4 episodes later, they're saving the entire Klingon race. It's just like, it shouldn't be the responsibility of these young adults to do this. That should be left to the greatest minds and the most daring commanders in Starfleet. I really don't know, excuse me, why, I forget his name, the principal or the president of the Federation right now. Vance, yeah. I really don't know why he's going so much to the principal of Starfleet Academy with these
He wasn't going
huge
to her as the
issues.
principal of Starfleet Academy. He was going to her as a person who had a relationship with the specific Klingon leader that they wanted to approach about a deal they wanted to make.
100%.
And they're going to keep coming up with clever ideas like that to find a reason for the Academy to be involved in things, because otherwise the show's just not going to be very exciting. So I'm fine with that. There are going to be contrivances like that. Like, that's just going to happen.
It's 4 episodes in, and they've basically made Starfleet history. Like, if we're going to be honest, these kids should be in, like, the Wall of Fame for this. It's kind of insane.
Maybe. But, like, I mean, it was really Ake who brought the Beta Zeds in because it was her, like, she got the idea kind of from Caleb, but all he said was there's something more to build. And then she was like, oh yeah, we're building a new headquarters. We could do that on Beta Z. And you're like, okay. So, like, that was fine. And then here, I liked the idea of, like, because Krog is their only Klingon cadet, like, he had a unique perspective that was helpful to them. So, like, yeah, it's a little contrived, but that's just going to keep happening if you want the show to be anything other than laser tag in classrooms. Like, you kind of can't have it both ways. There's either going to be exciting, cool space stuff happening and contrivances to involve them in that if you want to see any diplomacy episodes at all, or you don't get any diplomacy episodes.
Yeah, the reason I'm okay with it more so than the other way around is because it's not the kids solving everything on their own. It'd be different if, like, all the bridge crew of the Athena and Aki and Vance all failed, and then these cadet kids come together and say, well, we have a plan to solve it. They're kind of involved peripherally, but it's still generally Aki who's doing the main lifting here, and they're just kind of around that.
So it'd be different if it were Prodigy.
It'd be different if it were Prodigy, but Prodigy is a better show. So far, in my opinion.
Agreed. I mean, in the first 4 episodes, it's not. I would say I like
Well,
this
yeah,
first
yeah.
4 better than I liked the first 4 of Prodigy, even though it turns into an amazing show.
I still want to see Rock Talk's sister again, or I don't remember the name of the race, but they saw one in the first episode.
Brickar, I think.
The Brickar.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, seriously, I got nothing else. If you guys want to keep discussing, if you've got random points on the episode, if not,
I
we're going to go
kind
out
of hate how. I really hate how they film outdoor stuff. I don't like it. I don't like how they have so many camera angles facing towards the sky. I really don't like how it seems like they're just the only Klingons camping on this planet. They claim that there was a place that they were
Yeah, that
trading
was
from.
strange.
I don't like how they film outdoor scenes in really any of these shows. It doesn't feel correct. Another thing is that I feel like they missed the opportunity to make them seem like displaced refugees. They really just had them having the most fucking amazing time out in these woods.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're Klingons. They would be.
I don't know. I think we're sort of seeing how hard, like, some things are hard. Like, they have to forage for some of their food, and, you know, their home isn't exactly, like, resplendent. We know there's, like, a trading post where they trade for goods where apparently violence happens occasionally. But it is weird we don't see more of, like, I don't know, a refugee camp or, like, a village, if that's what the vibe is supposed to be. So I did think that
I
was
could
kind of
not
odd.
see Klingons living in a refugee camp because that would have that
That's true.
dishonorable
Right.
feeling to
But
it.
I would
Right.
expect it to be like villagey at least, or like look like some kind of ramshackle like shanty town, right? Or something like that.
I would figure they'd want to be
Well-
out on their own because if they can't rely on their fellow Klingons anymore, then they can relate to their house at the very least. And so maybe there could have been more interconnectedness in like, oh, take this bread down to the people at the river. But I feel like it had that sense of, and I think it also conveyed the sense of the Klingon race in general feeling kind of on its own on foreign territory. This idea that, like, if we do go with the idea that the two dads is the joining of two houses, it's also this idea that, like, everyone is flung far apart. And so they're doing the best they can to keep their tradition, their racial culture and history alive while dealing with the diaspora.
Mhm. Which that just
Diaspora.
reminded me. It's kind of like what Janeway, I think it was Janeway, said about the Herosian in Voyager, where like if they kept going out on hunting parties themselves and expanding, they're going to lose themselves. They're going to lose a sense of culture. They're just going to be these lone wolves across the galaxy with no real home to come to.
Was that Janeway that said that, or the Herosian leader? And like that's why
Yeah,
they,
it was the Herosian
Was it? Okay.
leader in the Killing Game that said it to her. But yeah. So yeah, Norman's got a good point. We didn't talk about the battle at all. It's a cute. This is a fun little thing. It's handled very short, very easily.
Mhm.
I love that the Federation meet the Klingons on their level so that they can like save face and honor.
Mythologize
to
it
give
however they
them,
want to.
I think it was done really well. I loved the little piece of the like motion picture Klingon theme that they brought in when the Klingon
Yeah.
fleet warped in. It was handled really well for a short little.
The hater in the
Right.
comments doesn't get it and thinks that they tricked the Klingons. Buddy, they didn't trick the Klingons. Like, Wochak was in on this. That's why
Wink,
from
wink,
the start he's
we-
like,
Yeah.
you're
We're gonna have a battle.
The Klingon houses. Like, he was participating in it. This was a ritual. This was a staged ritual so that they can say they conquered the planet.
Yeah.
Because
It's like
their
when
culture is based on myth. That's why the episode spent so much time talking about Klingon myth and how mythology is the foundation of their culture and how conquest and battle is how they relate to each other. This was a staged battle not to trick the Klingons, but the Klingons were involved and participating in it
That's
as
right.
a ritual.
I
They
mean,
they're not
what it is.
stupid.
It's more that it's tricking the population of Klingon. It's not
Yeah.
tricking the leader into
Yeah.
it, but like then they can use that to trick by selling it to their people. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, we took this planet in honorable combat. Now we get to sing songs about it and like start a new life, because before
I think I wish there
they
was
couldn't
like
take-
Very, very short songs.
I wish there was like maybe a couple of ships that were offered up to be destroyed by the
Yeah, like
Klingons.
unmanned ships. I was kind of thinking that would
Yeah,
add a
like
little more
that was
pizzazz
the one
to
thing
it.
about the fight that seemed weird to me. Like I understand what they were trying to do, but the myth would be so much easier to sell if you can talk about these grand ships that they
You can
destroyed.
still
in order
say
to
that,
take
you know,
this
like,
from
we
the
faced off
Federation.
against so and so many Federation battle cruisers,
Right.
and they turned tail and ran.
because that
They're still
game
gonna
of
inflate it.
telephone
Yeah.
gets bigger every time
Yeah.
it gets retold.
Yeah,
A fleet
so,
of
like,
7,000 warships.
this
There were
it
5
was
of us.
clever. It was clever and fun, and like shows us what's up with the Klingons. And I feel like people are like acting like this is the first time ever that Star Trek has had like a speedy resolution in the last 5 minutes of the episode. That's like a Trek mainstay. They do it all the time.
Right.
It's almost always tied up neat in a little bow because it's episodic. So when you're doing episodic storytelling, you have a satisfying conclusory end to the episode and the story that you are telling.
It's like Muslims in banking. They basically have a thing where they can't bank with interest, but they do a thing, and through so many steps, they basically bank. They just don't call it banking. That's basically what happened here. We just found a loophole in Klingon dogma that allowed them to do the thing.
I was recently talking about being a house goyim, which is basically the same thing for Jewish
Yeah, I thought
people.
about that
Yeah.
too. Right.
Is where they
Right.
hire someone who isn't Jewish to turn on and off their lights and do the other things they can't do during the Sabbath. And so there was a little bit of that in there, but like as an actual ritual technician, let me pull out my union card. There are times that we create and create spectacle to stand in for what we want it to represent. Like for an easy example, we were using a fire torch that was the kind that people juggle with, and we could put our hand on it and then touch someone in the heart, injecting their heart with fire of passion. So it's the idea of giving a sensory feeling to the energetic thing you're trying to create. And I think with this fight, it was the energy that was important. It wasn't, like I said, I think, again, with the flame and the stuff, I would like to have seen some dummy ships get exploded. But in the end, I think it was almost like what's the fight with Spock and the other dude in
Wrath of Khan?
No, the mating ritual
Amok
dance where they
Time?
fight each other.
Amok Time?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the idea, like, when he has to fight Kirk, he has to fight Kirk, but they both know it's not going to end with anybody dying. Like, yes.
Yeah, they're literally just checking boxes here to make this a palatable thing for them to accept. I don't know why people are acting like this is so out
I
there.
just want to say to this commenter, how many times have we gone back to the Klingons do not trope? They have so many rules for themselves that, this is the Klingons. They have so many rules and expectations for themselves that if they don't fulfill, their honor is gone. And it's kind of a dumb way to live from our point of view, but it is
That's one of the
them.
reasons I like Jaden so much, is this idea of him being so committed to studying medical instead of security or command. This idea that what he chooses is his own path. And I find that really interesting, and it plays into some of the stuff that happened in this episode, the focus on bird watching instead of killing a bird of prey, and this idea of him wanting to exist within the culture but not necessarily be a part of it, because he thinks of himself as a necessary part in being a warrior, is that they need someone who's going to patch you up and send you back out there. And so he finds that more interesting and challenging than just picking up a bow and arrow and killing stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons you guys know I'm all about, like, my big thing about modern Trek is that it doesn't go into character depth. And I love this, even just the premise of one of the first Klingons to return to the Academy isn't like a bat'leth wielding security officer, but one that is there to learn how to heal.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. I also loved his mentorship with Lura and her kind of like experiencing that role for the first time. And we also learned more about her backstory and how she came to exist. And that was really cool. And I really liked that that was just kind of like woven in there for us. We didn't have to have like I don't know, just a Lura episode to find out that backstory about her. We got to have it just like given to us through this wonderful scene with Jaden. Like this scene and the scene with Darum hyping him up were like probably my two favorites in the episode, although it's hard to pick because there were so many great moments. And like, yeah, it was really good. I like her like reticence to be a mentor. And I like that you kind of saw her thinking about it at the start of the episode when they were telling him about his family, and she like they like exchange that kind of long look before he leaves the office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like
this
that.
is probably the first time she was really given the chance to be, I don't want to say her own character, but like a vulnerable part of herself. Prior to this, she was the over the top, sometimes sarcastic, overbearing commandant or whatever you want to call her role. And then the little bit with Reno, which was fun little tidbits. But this is the first time she's really opening herself up to a real character.
Just call her Arlie Ermy.
We got like a teeny sampling of it in the last episode when she and Ake had that big thing about her not trusting Ake's judgment for how to handle like the prank war. But here I feel like it's much more fully realized in terms of like her as a person and like exploring that and her relationship to other Klingons. It was just really cool.
And I think Starfleet Academy, for how you feel about it, has an underlying current of defying expectation. Like I said earlier, with Jaden wanting to go into the medical field, for the doctor still being alive and still teaching, the first holographic student, like who has to not just plug into the computer to learn everything, but is actually attending classes and doing that sort of thing. I feel like it is almost an answer to these Trek fans who are like, Klingons must stay the same we still want white guys in blackface from the 60s, like they must stay the same. And it's like, well, no, you have to come up with new stories that fit the current culture. And I'm not talking about like what are they called, the black white people, like
Sharon.
I'm not talking about that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm talking more about sort of the complexities of our current culture, where we're more encouraged to self-identify rather than to fall into the traditions of our family. Like, of all the weird things I have said and done with my family, the fact that I'm not a Christian anymore is like the least of them. But maybe even 20 years ago, that would have been a huge deal.
Fair. Anything else before we do out of tens?
I like Jaden's confusing replicator food policy where he won't eat the pepperoni pizza because it didn't die in a fair fight.
I will try your burnt replicated bird meat.
And also that the warrior stew was not created in the traditional fashion. I could see him, if like Falk went back into her industrial kitchen and made some warrior stew, him being like, no thank you. But like, I don't know, it's like a vegetarian being able to eat the Impossible Burger at McDonald's. Like, it's not real meat. We all know it's not real meat. It's fine.
Objective truth.
All right. I guess I'll call it there. Wow, like I can't believe the difference in like how people have perceived this episode. This is like maybe the most polarizing episode since I've been covering Star Trek as a YouTuber to come out, because like, oh my god, like
True.
you've got the representation of what I've seen in my comment section here in ours right now to some degree, where people are talking about fractions of a point. Me, I'm going to kick this thing off with a 9.25. I am really high on the hog on this one. It has just enough little problems, like with the doctor misquoting Satie, a few other things, but honestly, in New Trek, this feels more like a classic Trek episode than anything but maybe Terrarium from last season in Strange New Worlds, where Ortegas got stranded with the Gorn. It feels very Star Trek to me. I love coming back to the Klingons, finding out what's going on. We developed a character. Show me another episode that develops a character for the first time that's as good as this. Like, at least even just going through, like, TNG, I don't think there is one. Not even close. So, yeah, I'm at a 9.25. I love this episode. And anybody else is welcome to your own opinion. Go ahead, Del.
Y'all know that I am hard on Star Trek episodes. I have not hesitated from rating an episode a 2 before. And I think it says what it needs to say, that I by the time it ended, I wanted to experience it all over again. And so literally as soon as it was over, I watched it the whole way through again. I feel very strongly that this was a bottle episode that didn't feel claustrophobic. Like, there was no real artificial reason why they were stuck in all the same place, but we got all the benefits of a bottle episode where we got that character development, we got to see more interpersonal relationships, we got to see a little bit more of their histories through storytelling and through flashbacks. That's the word I'm looking for. And so this is going to be a strike in my Star Trek alley, because it is all the things that I love about Star Trek, and it also carries the like, again, fear of 90210 gone after this episode, because it really did have the heft of all the things that attracted me to Star Trek in the first place and keep me watching it. And so I think for the very first time on this podcast in the 3 years I've been here, I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10.
Love it.
Is this really the first time you've given a 10? I feel like you've given something a 10. You are critical, but
I am pretty
feel like you've
critical.
given something.
How about the first time this year? Well,
Oh,
or in the
yeah, there
last,
you go.
like,
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
First time on this Monday.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, really love this episode. I love Jaden's character development. I love seeing what happens to the Klingon, what has happened to the Klingons, since I actually hadn't thought about we hadn't really seen them in Discovery after a certain point. I loved watching the Doctor explain that he likes debate so much because he literally had to debate himself into existence. And it reminds you that Author, not the best legal episode of Star Trek out there, but when it leads to the Doctor still being around almost a millennia later, that does elevate that episode a little bit. And funny little bits like Square Pizza and Caleb calling himself a master debater. The look at Jaden's extended family, and my gosh, I was in tears the first time I watched this a lot for Jaden. After seeing how great his brother was, and then it looked like his family was wiped out, and then watching them like leave without him, I was ready to throw down for him, even though I know he wouldn't accept it. The only slight ding that I had, was when Ake's talking to Wojak. Yeah, that's the Klingon's name. And he basically saying, the only way this is going to happen is through conquest. And I was like, right there, I was like, oh, so they're going to attack the planet. Okay. So that was telegraphed just a little bit for me, not enough to bring it down too much. So I'm going to give this a 9.8.
Well, yeah.
Mr. Captain.
Yeah,
gives it
that was a little
7.
obvious. I admit I was also
Right.
wondering, like, as soon as he said that line, like, how are they going to stage a fight? What's that going to look like? And then we found out pretty quickly what that looked like. But yeah, I also agree. I loved this episode. I always had high expectations for Academy. I did think it was going to be good, but I admit I didn't think it was going to be this good. I thought it would take longer to find its footing. I thought it was going to stumble. I thought it was going to have kind of a rough start, as many Trek shows do. And I was really surprised that right out the gate, it has not had a bad episode yet, in my opinion. The worst episode it's had so far, by most people's estimation, was still really entertaining. And this one, I think, finally like cements it very firmly as real Star Trek, in a way that I feel like those of us here on this podcast kind of knew it was already, but a lot of people have been just in denial about. There was so much great stuff. We've talked about a lot of it. One of my favorite kind of like underrated part of the episodes is, or the episode is, the fight that Caleb and Krog have, and the way they make up at the end of the episode, the fact that it's all tied up in Krog's grief, and then Caleb's like overreaction during the debate is because his feelings are so hurt, and then the way Krog lets him into his heart as a brother, and how Lyra also like clocked them as brothers. I'm like choking up as someone with 3 brothers. I thought it was just adorable, incredibly sweet. It gave me all of the feels. And I love that like parallel with like their brotherhood with like the relationship between like the Federation and the Klingons kind of coming back together. And like there was so much about it that was so masterful that it just makes it really easy for me to kind of forgive any of the little like, you know, little warts here and there on the episode. I watched Author as a little kid, so I love that episode. It's so
Hell
fun.
yeah.
And so like seeing that mentioned and seeing like the references to the drum head and, you know, like the little Borg cube clock in Ake's office maybe clocking that we're going to get a Borg episode. Like there were so many things like big and small that worked here. And I think for me, I would probably also give this like, yeah, like a 9.75. Like there maybe are a couple things they could have cleaned up or developed more, but overall I had a blast. Just great episode.
Gannon.
All right. So I unfortunately have to be like kind of a prick here. I'm sorry. Everybody loves it but me.
Do what you
You're
gotta
allowed
do.
to not like it. That's okay.
I am going to give it
My
a
opinion is the one
most
that was
of
good.
5.5 just because fundamentally I just wasn't really wanting this in an episode. I'm going to be completely honest. I would really like this show to be more Degrassi, more teen-centric. I don't need them saving. I don't need them fucking saving the entire Klingon Empire. I'm going to be candid here. And another thing that's irritating is I know the entire galaxy suffered at the hands of the burn, but I'm just tired of every single key legacy faction getting their home planet blown up. I don't want a new Kronos. I'm irritated. I don't need it. We already have Navarre. The Romulans lost their planet. Vulcan has probably kind of lost its previous identity. It's now a mixture of 2 completely different cultures. And I just don't need this freshman band of kids really saving the 9 remaining great houses. I don't really like how like they repeatedly put the Klingons in this situation over the course of the timeline. Their civilization, more so than any others I can think of, is just completely shit on. Like, because they're a war-torn race, they're constantly infighting, and there's just constant waves of them being weakened down to what they describe as near extinction. Episode 4, I just didn't need the stakes to be this high. And I'm going to also double down on the fact that I really wasn't personally moved by any of the scenes of Jaden and his family, because I don't like how they film outdoor scenes. His brother died in a very convenient way. And yeah, like I'll give this a 5.5 because it is a fine episode, but fundamentally it's not really what I wanted. I just don't need these type of stakes at this point. And And yeah, there was, and I'm going to be also candid too. I really do not think if you were to take like a poll of 200,000 people who watch like dramas between the ages of 15 and 30, I feel like a good percentage of those people would kind of find the debate scenes a little bit cringy, because I found them a little bit cringy at some points.
To be fair,
and
college debate is a little bit cringy.
it
Sorry.
definitely is cringy. And another thing, I feel like the whole Aaron Satie debate thing is a little bit forced. It's just another example of them just like reaching for more Easter eggs. I would have really just preferred some Degrassi drama, and maybe they could have done this at episode 7 or 8. But at episode 4, it's just not what I wanted.
And you were the closest to the target demographic of any of us, so you are definitely entitled to that thought.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, guys. I really just like
That's
this one's
okay.
just okay for me. It
Don't
was the first
apologize.
one that kind of like raised some red flags.
You're
was
not
like,
forgiven.
I just don't like some of the choices that they're doing. We don't need to have a new Klingon home planet. Like, we don't need to be doing every single key faction dirty in the 32nd century. It's tiresome to me.
Josh.
So how do I phrase this exactly? So I'm actually with, I think Norman said it as well as Gannon. I'm not a fan of what they did to the Klingons here. I'm also not a fan of what they did to the Romulans back in 2009. That being said, that's the story they want to tell, so I'm willing to go with it. Like, on a visceral level, I'm like, well, that's a really shitty thing to do to the Klingons. But at the same time, I enjoyed the story. So there's a weird disconnect, I guess I have, where I don't want to judge things for what they're not if I'm enjoying them for what they are, or at least appreciating them for what they are. So it's not a decision I would have ever made. I think it kind of kneecaps the potential storytelling more so for the Romulans, because I feel like we never got a definitive Romulan story before they chucked that off. But that's the story they're wanting to tell here. And if they tell it well, if they develop it well, and specifically they developed this character well in a time period that's so far in the future and divorced from the heart of Star Trek that it's never really going to theoretically reverberate back to impact the 24th or 25th century at all. They can still tell as many stories in that time period as we want. And possibly this is an alternate future. Like, we don't even necessarily have definitive proof that it's the same timeline, even though they kind of say it is. So there are loopholes if you want to get around that. The one thing, and this is the minorest nitpick of all, that I didn't like in this episode is I don't like the overuse of calling these kids zygotes at this point. It was funny the first time the Doctor did it. Now Colbert's doing it. I'm like, that was a one-time joke. Maybe a callback to it a season later would have been funny, but it's a little overused now.
A twinkle in your father's pants
yeah.
is also.
Oh, I
something
love
to
that
say.
though.
I do think that the Caleb stuff, to Ren's point earlier, the Caleb and why did I want to call him Jankum? So many names. Jaden's relationship here. I really liked how it was kind of short played a little bit in the first episode. They were kind of thrust together based on that little interaction when they first arrived at the academy. Then we got to see them hanging out with that little that knowing look from Jaden when he was all about Tarima at the party in the second episode. And they got a little bit, I think, in the last episode when they were pranking everybody. I just kind of liked how that developed. And then here it came to full force. So that's the type of thing that I really think that a show like this can develop, as opposed to just forcing things. And the opposite of Gannon last episode is what I didn't want from this show. This is actually kind of what I was looking for from this show to a certain degree. I thought the ending was definitely very telegraphed, but apparently a lot of you guys felt the same way. I didn't know if that was just because I've consumed so much of this stuff, I know where it's going, or if it was actually pretty obvious. And is there anything else this episode did we didn't really touch on? Oh, I was a little confused by his little ball thing, because it was broken on the planet and he still hadn't fixed it. So how did he use it to contact Starfleet? Or did he just find some other way there. That I wasn't sure exactly what that was
Yeah.
supposed to mean. I can't remember exactly what I gave the first episode, but I liked this one a little bit more. So I think I gave it a 9. So I'll give this a 9.25.
And there we are. You gonna do those averages, Scott?
Almost
Looks
got
like
it.
it. All right, take your time. Like, wow, yeah, this isn't as big of a spread as I thought. I thought we were gonna have some 2s to go along with the 10, but wow, an 8.5. Holy crap! Try telling the rest of the internet that, because I didn't know you could have a 20% like to dislike ratio in a video, but I found it in this episode. There are
my
some
worst
people
like dislike ratios were for like Discovery when I started saying nice things about it at all.
and at least Discovery, I can understand why people generally didn't like it. Like, it's not for
I didn't like the
everybody.
first season. I liked it better on rewatch, but like it was very jarring when you're used to 90s Trek and that's your
Yeah,
first introduction to
agree.
modern Star Trek. But this is
Yeah.
really
But
good.
there's so
People are
there's so much
freaking
good
out.
here. Like, yeah, I'm kind of on the other side of Gannon too. I like the galaxy building. I like that we're like putting the pieces back together and making
me
it
too.
a better galaxy for everybody.
I also, and I'm not trying to rebut what anyone said, but I like the idea of showing how the burn affected the galaxy in a different way. It wasn't just that all
Yeah.
the ships blew up, it was that the dilithium mines blew up. I mean, now, how do I feel about the whole baby cries
I
and
don't-
everything explodes is a different issue. But
I
do
don't
like-
think the
so
mines
bad.
blew up, but just any working
Yeah,
reactor is
it's with
my
an active
understanding.
Any active, yeah.
Yeah, blew up.
So if your ship was like inoperational, those were good. So it had to be in use.
Womp womp.
All right. Well, this has been fun. It's been interesting. I hope next week's is as good. It looks like it's going to be a Sam episode. Yay. I know a lot of us, that was like our early
For a
favorite.
little ray of
The
sunshine.
non-human learning humanity character in Star Trek is almost always the best or second best character on a show. So we'll see where this goes. We know that there's at least a cameo on screen of the Cisco. We're gonna talk about him a little bit. I doubt Avery Brooks makes an appearance, but we'll find out. I'd like to thank my co-hosts for joining me and for all of you that have tuned in. So, until we see you again, live